Have you ever looked at a really complex sentence? I'm talking, one of those dense paragraphs in an editorial or maybe even a legal contract,
Oh, for sure.
and you feel like you're staring at the engine of a car.
That is a perfect analogy.
You know it works. You can see it's getting from A to B, but you have absolutely no idea how the pistons and gears are actually connecting to make it all move.
It's the difference between driving the car and being the mechanic. Most of us just read by feel, right? We have this intuition.
Yeah, a vibe.
A vibe, exactly. We know when a sentence sounds clunky or when it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
But we don't really know why.
We're guessing. And today, we are going to stop guessing. We are digging into a master that is all about sentence analysis.
And I love how you framed it not as grammar, but as sentence architecture.
Right.
Because it really is structural engineering. You've got load-bearing walls, and then you've got the, the interior decoration.
And if you can't tell the difference, you're in trouble.
You are. If you mistake a decorative phrase for a main pillar of the sentence, you're going to get completely lost.
So our mission for this deep dive is to move from reading by feel to reading by logic. We want to decode these structural components.
Starting with the absolute building blocks. The bricks and mortar.
The phrase versus the clause.
The fundamental binary. Everything starts right here.
And I'll be honest, for a long time I kind of used those terms interchangeably. I didn't realize there was such a rigid mathematical difference.
Oh, there is. And it's probably the most important rule in syntax. It all comes down to the power couple of grammar.
The subject and the verb.
The engine, like you said.
The engine.
If you have a group of words, 2 or more, you have to ask one simple question. Is there a subject performing an action? Is there a verb paired with it?
Okay.
If the answer is yes, you have a clause. A clause is a living thing. It has an actor and an action.
And if it doesn't have that pair,
then it's just a phrase. It's a chunk of meaning. It adds color, it adds context. It might tell you where or when, but it doesn't have that engine.
so it's sort of a dead part, structurally speaking.
Yeah, kind of, until it attaches itself to a clause.
Okay, let's ground this. The source material gives us a perfect, simple example. He wrote a lot of books.
Perfect. Let's take that engine apart. The first part, he wrote.
Okay. He is the subject. Wrote is
Yeah.
the verb.
Boom. That's a clause. It works.
But then you have the second part, a lot of books.
Right, now look at that chunk. A lot of books. Do you see a verb? Is books doing anything?
No, it's just stuff. It's just sitting there.
Exactly. No subject-verb combination. So a lot of books is a phrase.
Now that seems simple enough in a 5-word sentence, but this gets tricky when sentences get longer, right?
It does, and that's where we move from just identification to diagnostics.
Mm-hmm.
We need a testing mechanism.
And the source introduces these mental tests, these questions you can ask. The first one is the what test.
The what test. This is your go-to for finding nouns, specifically noun phrases and noun clauses.
So how does it work?
You look at the main verb of the sentence, and you just ask, what?
Okay, let's go back to our example. He wrote a lot of books.
The verb is wrote. So you ask,
He wrote what?
and the answer.
A lot of books.
Precisely. Because that entire chunk answers the question, what? It's functioning as the object. It's doing the job of a noun. Because we call it a noun phrase.
Okay, here's where I think people get tripped up. I look at a lot of books, and my brain sees of, and it just screams preposition.
Right. It's a reflex.
The source says that's a trap. Don't get distracted by the individual words.
That is the golden rule of this whole deep dive. Context over content. You have to look at the job the entire group is doing.
The whole chunk.
The whole chunk. If the whole thing answers what, it's a noun phrase, period.
Does this what test also work for clauses? Because that seems harder to spot.
It works perfectly. It's the best way to spot a noun clause. Let's take the other example. He said that he would do the work.
Okay. Verb is said, so I ask, he said what?
And the answer is the whole second half, that he would do the work.
Right. So because it answers what, we know it's functioning as a noun. But now we have to look inside that answer.
Inside that he would do the work.
Do we see an engine?
I see. He, that's a subject, and would do, that's a verb.
Subject plus verb, that makes it a clause. So put it together. It functions as a noun, but it's built like a clause. It's a noun clause.
And this brings us to the villain of English grammar. The word that.
Ah, yes. The shapeshifter.
It really is. In the sentence we just did, that is just acting like glue, isn't it?
It's a subordinate conjunction technically, but you're right to call it a villain because it changes its job based entirely on where it sits. It's a double agent.
And this leads us to the second test. We've done what? Now we need the which test.
The which test. This is for adjectives. We're pivoting from finding things to describing things. Let's use the source example so we can see the difference.
I read the book that my friend had given to me.
Okay, let's break this down. If I use the what test, I say, I read what? The answer is the book.
Stop right there. The book is your noun phrase. Done. But now you've got this long tail left over.
That my friend had given to me.
Does that long tail answer, I read what?
No, I already answered that. This is extra information.
Exactly. So ask a different question. Ask, which book?
Ah, which book? The one that my friend had given to me.
Bingo. It answers which. So it's describing the noun book. That makes it an adjective. And since it has an engine,
My friend and had given.
it's an adjective clause. Or, as you'll also hear it called, a relative clause.
So this solves the that trap. If the that clause answers what, it's a noun. If it answers which, it's an adjective.
Yes. And the source has a really great visualization for this. Imagine you're underlining the part of the sentence you're analyzing.
Okay, visualizing the underline.
Look at its neighbor to the left. If the underlined part starts right after a verb like he said that he's coming, it's probably a noun clause.
It's connected to the action.
But if it starts right after a noun, like the book that is on the table, it's probably an adjective clause.
Check the neighbor. That is so helpful for just quickly diagnosing a sentence.
So it cuts through all the noise.
Okay, so we have nouns and adjectives. What about the third major category, adverbs?
Adverbs are the multitaskers. They answer when, where, why, or how.
The example from the text is, he was walking along the seaside.
Simple one. Walking is the verb. Along the seaside tells us where he was walking. It modifies the verb. No engine inside it, so it's an adverb phrase.
That seems pretty straightforward, but then the source brought up a distinction with the word because.
Ah, yes. This is a classic exam trap, and just a logic trap in general.
The fragment is because it unsettles authority. Now, my brain sometimes sees that and thinks conditional, like if this, then that.
And that's exactly what the source warns against. It's not a conditional clause.
So why does that distinction matter so much?
It's about precision. A conditional clause, usually starting with if, is about hypotheticals. If it rains, it might not.
Right, possibility.
But because is causal. It's a reason for something that is actually happening because it unsettles authority, answers the question why.
So it's an adverb clause of reason.
Correct. Confusing a reason with a condition can make you misunderstand the author's certainty because is a fact. If is a possibility.
Got it. Okay, before we get to the really advanced stuff, we have to revisit prepositions. The source has this tricky case study, a battle between the prepositional phrase and the noun phrase.
This is the one that gets the most pushback. We're conditioned, you see in, on, from, you just scream prepositional phrase.
It's automatic.
But remember the golden rule, function over form. The example is, awaken India from slumber.
Okay, from slumber looks like a textbook prepositional phrase.
It does, but let's run the test. Awaken India from what?
Ah, it answers from what?
And because it fills that what slot, because it's functioning as the object of that verb, the source argues its function is that of a noun phrase.
That is really counterintuitive.
It is.
Yeah.
But think of it this way. The verb awaken from demands an object. What are you awakening from? Slumber. That's the noun concept. It's forcing us to look past the first word.
Okay, that requires a real mental shift.
It does.
All right, we've done the basics, we've done the intermediate level, but now we have to get into what the source calls the next level difficulty.
The deep end of the pool.
We have to talk about participles, specifically the cage match between the absolute phrase and the participial phrase.
This is where you see the really sophisticated writing. High-end journalism, literature, advanced exams, they look almost identical, but they work very differently.
Let's define them. Absolute phrase just sounds intense.
It is intense. It's a powerhouse. It doesn't just modify one word. It modifies the entire sentence. It creates a whole context, a separate reality for the main clause.
And how do I spot one?
Structurally, it almost always has its own subject inside the phrase, followed by a participle, and it's separated by commas. The classic example is, the sun having set, we left.
Okay. The sun having set.
Look at it. It has its own subject, the sun. It has a participle, having set.
Yeah.
But doesn't really connect to we or left. It just hangs there, painting the background.
It's cinematic. It's like a camera panning across the sky before cutting to the actor.
That's a fantastic analogy. It's a
Yeah.
wide shot. Now compare that to a participial phrase. And this is the key difference. It does not have its own internal subject. It steals the subject from the main sentence.
Okay, the source had a great example for this. Moving through landscapes carved by loss, they refuse the luxury.
Perfect. Look at the phrase, moving through landscapes. Who is moving?
I have to look at the main sentence. They are moving.
Exactly. The phrase relies on they to make sense because it describes they. It's a participial phrase.
So it's like a giant adjective, zoomed in shot on the actor.
Precisely. Another one was guided by granular diagnostics.
Same thing. Who is guided? The doctors, later in the sentence. So it modifies doctors.
So the expert in the source was very firm on this. The litmus test is looking for that internal subject.
So I like to think of it this way. The absolute phrase brings its own date to the party. The sun having set, it brought the sun.
I love that. And the participial phrase.
The participial phrase comes alone and tries to dance with the host. Moving through landscapes, it has to dance with they.
I'm stealing that for my next class. That's the perfect way to remember it.
Please do. Okay, let's run through some quick case studies from the source. I'll throw them at you.
Let's do it.
Case study 1. Walls familiar and confining. In the text, this is followed by the verb feel.
Ooh, good one. Walls familiar and confining.
Yeah.
Your brain wants to call those adjectives.
Right.
But what is the job of that whole chunk in relation to the verb feel?
But it's the thing doing the feeling. It's the subject.
Bingo. And if it's the subject, what kind of phrase must it be?
It has to be a noun phrase. Wow, even though it's full of descriptive words.
The chunk is the anchor.
Case study 2. A sentence about Trump. Viewing security commitments through a lens, Trump questioned.
Apply the date test. Does viewing security commitments have a subject inside it?
Nope, it's single, didn't bring a date.
So who is viewing?
Trump is. It's right there after the comma.
So it's describing Trump, a participial phrase.
Case study 3. The infinitive. To ignore ecological memories. And then later the verb is.
To ignore is.
Yeah.
What is the sentence about?
It's about to ignore ecological memories. That's the subject.
And if it's the subject, it's functioning as a noun phrase. Just like to err is human.
So an infinitive phrase can be a noun phrase. That's huge.
Absolutely.
Okay, last one, and it's a bit of a curveball. The grammatical role of a clause like freedom is not the absence of risk.
Ah, yes. This one wasn't just about syntax, it was about style.
Because the source labeled it rhetoric.
Right. And this is important for advanced comprehension. Sometimes the question isn't, is this a noun or a verb? It's, why did the author write it this way?
So it's about the intent.
Exactly. When you see these big declarative statements defining concepts like freedom or liberty, it's identified as rhetoric. It's language designed to be persuasive.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. But for the person listening who isn't taking an exam tomorrow, why should they care about all this?
Because clarity is power. That's what it comes down to. When you understand these structures, you stop being a passive consumer of information. You can see the matrix.
You can see the code behind the words.
You really do. You see how a writer is manipulating your attention. You see how they build argument.
And it must help your own writing, too.
It's liberating. Instead of just writing subject, verb, object over and over, you can start using these tools. You can drop in an absolute phrase to set a mood. Your architecture gets better.
So to recap our hierarchy, step 1, look for the engine, subject, and verb.
If it's there, it's a clause. If not, it's a phrase.
Step 2, apply the tests. Ask what for nouns.
Which for adjectives. And why, where, or how for adverbs.
And step 3.
Don't panic. And don't look at words in isolation.
The don't panic rule. When you see that, don't assume anything until you check the neighbors.
Context is everything.
I want to leave our listener with one final thought about those absolute phrases. The sun having set, we left. You said it creates a separate reality.
It's such a sophisticated tool. It allows you to step outside the main timeline of the sentence. It almost freezes time to set a scene.
So here's my challenge to you listening right now. In the next book you read, or even just a news article, try to spot one. See if you can find a phrase that brings its own date to the party.
Find the absolute phrase.
It might just change how you see the whole story.
And if you use one in your next email, let us know what happens. It's a power move.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
My pleasure.